joining us today on Playing the Field. I'm Maria Serrao, and joining me back by popular demand, the one, the only, Mr. Jerry Robinson, JR. So many people on the Hill have seen the last show we did, and they are like, wow, Jerry Robinson, we miss him, we love him. So you are missed.
It's been a while since I've been there. But you know what? I'm glad people are I know, I wish I could see everybody, at least, hi, people.
Exactly. All the residents remember you, Jerry. That's a good thing, all in the South Bay. Now, we didn't get a chance to really talk football last time because we were just like, we were doing our thing. But so this time I thought we would kind of dive in because, Jerry, football's changed, a lot since you played as far as used to be football season. And now football season is like 365 days because if you're talking about the draft, you're talking about guys, free agents, you're talking about, training camp. So football is just, it's a loved sport and fans cannot get enough of it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. This game has changed over the decades. Rules have changed. Teams have changed.
Yeah, hugely.
Uniforms have changed. A lot of different things have changed about this game. And, you're really right about it's 365 days. I remember when I was playing during the off season, you actually had an off season.
There's no more off season.
Felt like you had an off season. You could take a cruise or a trip somewhere and get away from the game. But what happened was that some of these younger guys started going right back to working out again, maybe a week later. Some dudes did it the next day. You get your Jerry Rices and these kind of people that they never really took any real time off. And so it started changing. So guys started cutting their off season shorter because for whatever reason, I guess, it paid off for everybody. But back in our day, no, our off season was our off season.
Now, back in the day, did you guys have OTAs like in April, May? No?
No, not early in the, they weren't called OTAs. No, we really didn't have that. But towards the end of my career, we did,
They started doing it?
Yeah, they called it something else. I don't even remember them calling. They didn't put 3 initials on it. It just said you need to be in here.
I was just gonna say, they said make sure you're at the facility for 3 days.
Yeah, it's like this. You know what? Yeah, sure. It was called mini camp. That's what it was back then. And
I think it was mini camp, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. Then they changed it to the OTAs because I think what has happened is the game has changed so much as far as you got different offensive attacks, you got different defensive schemes, and they need more time to get together to actually learn the concept of what's going on. And that's one of the problems right now with the pandemic going on. There's right now guys have been used to being in a facility, watching tape, watching film, and especially the new guys that are coming in has either been traded or free agents or now the draft. They get an initiation of the new program.
And so, Jerry, it's interesting you bring that up because that was one of the things on my list. Is we had a chance this week to talk to a couple of the new coaches for the Rams and Aaron Donald, which we'll get into a little later. But the new coaches, I asked them, I said, what is this like for you guys? You're used to being at the facility, especially, like you said, you've got the defensive players, the offensive players, the special teams. Rookies are always kind of learning on their own. And I said, how are you sort of able to make this work? And the one thing that both of them said was, we're spending so much time Zooming that the players are one-on-one spending a lot of time doing this. And he said that I think it was kind of surprising that they're talking a lot. Where he said, when we're together and it's physical, I don't think there was as much talking. But how much time do you need before you got to get physical? I mean, they got to learn. He said, like, we're showing them the schemes and all the stuff, but when are they going to actually apply it?
Well, you know what? The good thing about that is, the coaches you spoke to, they have a real good point because when you're out on the field, if you're not that first unit, you know what I mean? You got to really be paying attention if you're the backup unit, Now, you're in a Zoom cast going on. Everybody's listening to the same thing at the same time. And those veteran ball players who should pretty much know the schemes unless they got a new coordinator going on, they're able to to say things that might help these young guys grasp what's going on because it's all new for them. So
Yes.
I can see the benefits of that type of
Right.
Zoom, those meetings and stuff like that. But nothing's better than actually being on the field and going through it because you're sitting, we're sitting here in a comfortable chair,
Comfortable, yeah.
kick back, you know what I'm saying?
It's not like that when
You
you're
know,
on the field.
yeah, there's a big difference when your mind has to start. You have to make an adjustment on the run,
Right.
you know. So there's pros and cons behind both of them. It is, but what I like about it is that they are serious about getting these young athletes
Right.
acclimated to what's going on because the verbiage is what the hardest part. Because you coming out of college, you may
It's
not have ever heard
completely
those
different.
terms. Yeah, you may have never heard those terms before. So having a whole group thing like that, that's pretty cool. That's
How long
good.
did it take to learn that, Jerry?
Ooh. Well, I tell you what, I remember when I went to got drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles, when we saw the playbooks that they were handing out to us in training camp, they were so thick. I said, this is what the NFL football, this is just the defense. This is what it's about. It was huge. It was humongous. And um, it's a learning curve. It
Yeah.
is. It really is. And, it's not the easiest thing in the world. I mean, a lot of people think about football X's and O's, but there's more than X's and O's. There's schemes, there's terminologies. You got to understand the down and the distance and the mindset of your
Right.
defensive coordinator
Mhm.
and what the offensive coordinator is going through. So it's a heck of a learning experience. It's like a crash course. But when I started in the NFL in '79, we had 6 weeks of training camp.
And you had
6.
and you had 2-a-days.
And we had 2-a-days with pads and we
Right.
hit every day.
Yes.
And now it's a little bit different. Now these guys, they can benefit more from the mental aspect of it,
Yeah.
learning the game. They have more time to learn. But you can't put a price on the actual physical side of it because your
But
body has to get conditioned for that.
do you think that 2-a-days was a better way to prepare for the season, or is it better the way they do it now where they've got, a morning walkthrough, no pads, an afternoon, I know, with pads.
Go ahead.
And
Yeah.
sometimes you wonder, you're like, well, why are these guys getting hurt? I mean, they're not doing 2-a-days.
Well, you know what it is, the way it's set up now, it is, if I was a young man, I'd really be into understanding that it's the mental aspect of the game. That's what you get to benefit out of not all this hitting and going on. You need to learn the game. And the great ball players that I played with, they studied the game extremely, hard and long,
Right.
and they knew everything that was going on. So, without pads, you get a chance to concentrate a little more. But the downside of that is, when football seasons start, you see a lot of leg injuries and other
Yeah.
pulled muscles and stuff like that because it's okay. You got shoulder pads on and you're not really going full speed. And, you're getting your workout in, you're learning the system. And all of a sudden, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm not talking about preseason, but sometimes I happen in preseason too. Now you have to compete against that man in that other uniform.
That's it.
And it's no longer a walkthrough,
No.
it's no longer that. So the intensity level,
Ramps up.
obviously, yeah, it ramps up. And also, your body, your muscles, they gotta explode at a different, it's different. It's just different. It's just when that adrenaline gets going and you have to get to that spot. You're not in training camp where you can get there. It's going to look good on film. But
Yeah.
now you're trying to get somewhere, and there's other dudes trying to get away from you.
It's interesting. And we were talking, we touched a little bit on the Chargers last time, but I want to really kind of dive in. Do you know that this is going to be the first season since 2003 that there's no Philip Rivers? I mean,
Yeah.
when I'm like 2003, that was about the last time we did a show before last week. I was like, that is really going to be an interesting situation for them.
It really is because, just from watching Philip play the game and listening to him, he's a solid leader on that team. I mean, this man right here gets fired up, gets motivated. He knows what he's doing, and that type of leadership right there,
Yeah.
to me, is priceless. But obviously, to the Chargers, they had other plans.
What you know what I wonder though is somebody like Philip Rivers. Like I always wish that he would have maybe left the Chargers maybe like 10 years ago and tried another team. You know, it kind of there's a few guys like a Jake Plummer, and there were a few guys that I felt like kind of stayed at that one party too long. You know, maybe he should have tried another team where maybe he had better wide receivers around him, maybe a better O line in front of him. But now he's going to go play with the Colts. And let's face it, he's almost 40, or he is 40 or something. And he's Jerry, he's older.
Well, he's getting up there, but, to go back to address that, about him, maybe he should have left earlier. You know what?
Yeah.
He's too competitive to walk out when things aren't right, because he could see something, and he believed in that these Chargers were going to be moving in a certain direction. He believed in that. It's like he wasn't ready to throw the towel in.
No.
It's like, I'm tired of this, I'm tired of that. No, he truly believed that they could get things done, and that's what kept him in. That's that competitiveness in him.
Yeah.
He
was loyal.
Yeah, he was loyal.
He has like 10 kids, so I always said he has to work because he's got like 10 kids.
Well, isn't he? No, he's going to get a pretty nice little paycheck coming up pretty soon, so he can take care of those things. But you know what? He wasn't getting government cheese back in the day either. So he definitely has to work, because there's a lot of kids. And here's the other thing: he loves his kids, he loves his family.
He does. Yeah.
I'm telling you, to me, that's special, because the game of football, it takes a lot of your time, but that's your job, and that's your profession. But especially as a quarterback, because quarterbacks and defensive signal callers on defense, or just anybody that's that intense about the game, it requires a lot. Yeah. And I think one of the hardest things in sports is if you have to miss a special moment in your child's life,
right?
A special event. And so I love the fact that he loves his family so much. And you know what, wasn't he driving around in a van back and forth from?
Yeah, he was actually, he kept his house in San Diego because all his kids were in different classes and what have you, and so he would drive back and forth. I believe it was, I don't know if it was every night, but I think he had a driver, and he said he would just study while he was in the car, and
on his way back to his family.
That's it. That's Jerry, the Chargers have had a really tough road. I mean, I give Philip a lot of credit, because he didn't want to leave those San Diego fans, and yet, it was out of his hands. They come to LA, and it has been a really rough time for them. Now they're going to move into a new stadium, and I want to get your feel, because what I would have done was to change the name. You got to change the name. First of all, I don't think that I know one reporter who could get through the season without saying San Diego Chargers, me included. I mean, you'll be talking about it, and you're like, and the San Diego Chargers, and you're like, oh my, it's the Los Angeles Chargers.
Yeah.
What could they do? What can they do to get their fan base here?
Well, their fan base, I mean, they started originally in Los Angeles. They were the Los Angeles Chargers.
Yes. That was like 100 years ago, though.
Yes, that was. Yes. Philip might have been only 2 or 3 years old at that time. No, I'm just kidding.
Philip wasn't born.
I know, but I had to play with that. And they went down to San Diego, and while they were in San Diego, because when I played for the Raiders, we played them.
Yeah.
Every year. And I also played against them several times when I was at the Murph.
Yeah,
with that cannon. The cannon going off.
Scared me to death. The first time I heard that sitting in the press box, nobody warned me. And I was like, I literally jumped out of my skin. I'm used to that.
Well, I tell you what, playing for the Philadelphia Eagles, we came into to the Jack Murphy Stadium, and there was Dan Fouts, Kellen Winslow, Charlie Joyner, John Jefferson. We're playing against the Chargers, okay? My first time being in the stadium. All of a sudden, I don't know who it was, might have been Winslow or somebody, caught a touchdown pass, and that cannon went off. Boom. First thing I did, I hit the ground. I stayed low. I'm like, I didn't know what was going on. I heard all this noise. I thought I was in some type of riot. It was just a very uncomfortable and scary feeling.
Because
But
it's so loud.
yeah, it's very loud. Matter of fact, they scored so many points that day. I think they ran out of gunpowder. But I do remember that place. Anyway, um, the Chargers. They're going to be the San Diego Chargers for a long time for a lot of people. The
It's
people,
hard.
it is very hard, and they are moving into, the state of the art, $3 billion, whatever. How big?
Yeah.
It's called SoFi Stadium. Is that what it is?
SoFi Stadium.
SoFi.
Okay. Yeah.
SoFi, and
Wow.
the the good thing about it for them moving in there with the Rams is that it is the state of the art. I mean, you got two state of art stadiums. You got one in LA,
Right.
SoFi, then you got Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Two brand new state of art stadiums.
Brand
What's
new.
going to happen is I think the excitement of a new stadium for the football fans, for the Charger fans we're talking about here,
Yeah.
is going to drive them into that stadium. I think it's going to drive them
So.
because of look look at that place. Well, you see it all the time, but look at that stadium. So they're gonna drive people. And also, anybody that's playing the Chargers, their opponents, those people they're coming in too. Just like
That's
Las
true.
Vegas, they want to go see what the latest greatest stuff is.
That's
And
true, Jerry.
and the biggest thing the Chargers have to do is that first year, like I said, curiosity or whatever it is, and they have some fans, and I understand that, the place is they're gonna be jumping in there. But what they're gonna have to do in order to keep those fans coming back, they're gonna have to win. You're gonna have to
Yeah.
win football games, and that's
Yeah.
what keeps the people coming back. So that's their big challenge.
That's a huge challenge, that's for sure. And so, Jerry, one of the other big stories that's happening, especially in Los Angeles, is all of the teams every year they tweak the helmets a little bit. Sometimes they tweak the uniforms. Well, the Rams have definitely they've tweaked them, and I think it's because it's this new SoFi Rams Stadium, and they decided that they wanted to look a little different. And Eric Dickerson came out and said that, let's just say he said he didn't care for it too much.
Yeah, I
And
saw it.
a lot of the fans, they're very upset because the Rams, they have such an iconic logo. Those horns are so iconic. Tell me, in your opinion,
My opinion, okay.
who has the logo that you cannot mess with? How many teams in the NFL? I mean, you can mess with. I mean, Seattle changes their uniform like every 5 minutes, okay? But there's certain teams that you can't mess with the logo. So it's
Steelers,
Steelers,
Cowboys,
yeah, Raiders.
Raiders.
You cannot mess with that.
Speaking of helmets changing, I remember when the Cincinnati Bengals went through a change, and it took me a long time to get used to it. And I had to accept the fact, you know what, it is what it is. The Rams, the helmets that I saw,
Yeah,
I grew up the horn. It was all about that horn.
that's
It's about
it.
that horn. And if I can remember correctly, I'm trying to visualize that picture of the new helmet. Uh, the horn isn't the centerpiece or the focal point to me of the helmet. There's a stripe down the middle of it. There's a gold freeway down the middle, and there's a little horn on the side of it. I'm used to that whole.
Like, people are thinking it almost looks like the Charger logo and the Ram logo together. So it's kind of.
You know what? I'd have to look at that real much longer than that. But to me, when I saw the helmet, you know what? I'm like, okay, I know there's always changes, okay. And the deal of it is, watch when they get back to another Super Bowl, people forget all about the logo. They'll forget all about that logo. But it is different, I mean, I grew up, with the fearsome force from them and the horns but you know what though? It is what it is. It's not going to have an effect on how they change, how they play. But fans and some of the, some other people, I can understand because it is different. It's a big difference from what it used to be. So you know what? I understand, but they'll get used to it.
It's interesting. I had a chance to talk with Aaron Donald over Zoom with some of the other reporters in Los Angeles this week, and the one thing he said, somebody asked him, "What do you think it's going to be like playing without fans in that new stadium?" And he said, he kind of sat back for a second and said, "I don't think it's going to be fun." Do you think you could have played without fans, Jerry?
I would not want to play without fans because there's a certain amount of
Energy.
adrenaline and pageantry and everything that goes along with the fans being there. You know, it your immediate thought about playing in a stadium without fans is that it's going to be empty. It's not going to be the same thing. You know, that's the way it's got to be right now. You
That's
know,
it.
and but the game will go on. But you know, we're trying to make it. You know, trying to make it clean, not clean, but safe for
Yes,
everybody to be
that's
around.
right.
Yes. So
It'll be interesting too because it'll just to talk to guys that are in those games and when they look up and think, oh, that's right. There's nobody here.
you know what? They're going to stop looking up at some point because they're about to get their head knocked off. So they're going to realize, you know, what's really important is what's down here on this field is this 345-pounder getting ready to tear your head off.
That's
And
it.
you know, so, but they will look up in the stands. They're going to be shocked. They'll be like, wow, because they're not used to that. You're not
No,
used to it. And, you
I
know, you
I
have
still
to make,
think
that's another adjustment they got to make.
yes, and I still think the Raiders need to put the cutouts in the black hole though. They got to do that. They got to put those.
Yeah.
They have to.
Yeah, they definitely could do that. They could.
You got to call Mark Davis and tell him that because
I will.
that's going to be too weird. You got to see those guys in there.
You know what? I would do that. I would do that tomorrow.
All
Monday.
right, Jerry, when we come back, we're going to talk more football and a little bit of baseball. And I have a little surprise guest coming in for you. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right, we are back on air. We're just chatting away here. And I've got the picture I'm going to put up of the three of us. The three of us, that's right. Back in the days, they like to say, the kids like to say, I guess. We all worked together a long time ago. We did a show called the NFL on Cox TV in Rancho Palos Verdes. And I had so much fun with you guys. It was live, first of all. And it was a blast. People would call in, ask us questions. And here we are a few years later. Doug is actually in DC, and Jerry, Doug and I usually do a spring training show in Arizona every year. Of course, he bailed on me this year, but let me tell you something. Be glad that you're on the East Coast wearing that Eagles shirt. And I know you wore it in honor of Jerry, but this loyal Cowboy fan does not put any Eagles shirts on her show. That's
okay, well, wait.
It's all good.
I was going to say, Jerry gets a lot of attention out there. He was obviously a Raider where he wore number 57. The reason I put this on was I was going to say there are those of us who remember you as a 56, my friend.
That's right.
And if you go back further, there are those of us who remember you as, is that 82?
Oh, my God. That's my high school. Go ahead, Doug, with your bad stuff. My man, Doug, that's my high school football picture, and I wore number 82. Doug, you're amazing, man. You're still doing it, man.
That's pretty cool, Jerry.
Oh, my goodness. You just made my day, brother.
If you Google Jerry Robinson, you can find a ton of pictures of him. Cardinal Newman High School, UCLA, obviously, Eagles, Raiders. Jerry, I forget how famous you are, man. To me, you're a guy that we bungle through Maria's show together with. But
hey, I'm still that guy. Hey, Doug, I'm still that guy, man. I'm still that dude, man. And it's so good to see you. It's been quite a while since I've heard that voice. And when you came on, I was like, oh my goodness, what a great voice. And you know, you got a face to go with it too. So they say some people just got a voice for just radio. No, you got it for TV too, buddy.
That was always my joke when I did minor league baseball on radio. People would say, yeah, you have a voice for radio. I said, radio voice, radio face.
I'll tell you what,
you both have the voice and the looks for TV. Come on now. We were talking about the fact that, you know, the players right now, especially, baseball and football players that would be going to these mini camps are having to do it like this. And I had a chance to catch up with some of the Rams this week. And I was asking Jerry, you know, how difficult that would be as a player. But let me ask you guys this. How difficult, not even how difficult, how are they going to practice once they get to practice without there's no social distancing? They're not going to be able to do that.
Well, you know what? I'm going to speak on the football side of this.
Yeah.
There is no social distancing when it comes to contact football. You know, it makes no sense at all. So I feel that they're going to have to be damn sure that all those players that are on that field have been tested.
Yeah.
And if something starts to happen to somebody, if somebody starts to feel weird or feel sick, then you're going to have to take those steps and put them out of there. And so football is one of those things where it's all contact. I mean, although they don't, we laugh about the older guys. We laugh about, yeah, we go to training camp and looks like they're out there in pajamas. They're not hitting anybody, but there's still contact. We joke about it because,
Exactly.
like I said, our camps were brutal. Our camps, training camps were brutal. And these kids now, I call them kids, and it's different. But the football side of it, it's going to be very interesting to see how they handle it. And they've been working on this for quite a while. And I'm sure they have some steps and procedures and process that they're going to go through. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in football.
And
Baseball.
Doug, baseball, they should be back probably beginning of July. They're working out the details. Right now, there's no spitting, no locker room, no showering.
Scratching? Are you allowed to scratch or not?
No that's scratching.
I don't know that we can play, Maria.
The whole no spitting thing, I am in favor of no spitting. I don't know why those guys have to spit that much.
I was thinking about that earlier. They've run through a bunch of ways to do this or not do it. Crowd-free baseball, and people are saying, well, that word.
No crowd.
No crowd. And some people say that won't be the same. And I thought, will I miss the crowd if I'm watching I'd love to go to baseball games. Will I miss the crowd on TV? Anytime they're panning the crowd, it doesn't interest me. I didn't tune in. I want to either hear Vince Scully or watch baseball. Those two things. And I'm down to one. I'm down to the last one. But so what do we get with the crowd when a foul ball or home run gets caught? That's amusing. Other than that, I don't need to see the crowd.
Jerry has been doing so much with the radio organization all these years. Jerry, you're still doing alum events and you're all over the map.
Yeah, and you know what? And it's been shut down like everything else has been shut down with the pandemic. And last time I was there was 3 days after the Super Bowl. Was there on an alumni appearance with Reggie Kinlaw, and we were there with United Way of Southern Nevada, and we were involved in a program called Character Playbook. And that's the last thing I did there, but I've been there. I saw the stadium starting to go from the beginning to the end. I've been involved in the, they had a Olympic torch run with the law enforcement there. So there's a lot of things happening in Las Vegas. And, we're talking about that stadium. You mentioned the stadium. Oh. I've seen it from the bottom, and now what it looks like now, I mean, you can see it from outer space. It's so something about it. It looks like Darth Vader type something that they would have, and it's something to see. And I can't wait to see this SoFi Stadium in LA too.
Especially like you were talking about this time of the year, it is really strange. Somebody will say, "Oh, do you watch this show or that show?" And I'm like, "I'm supposed to be at a baseball game right now." Yeah. And then it's going to really be difficult for me. And maybe things will be different, but I love going to NFL training camp. I mean, I love it.
No, you do.
To not be at an NFL camp in August. I mean, I don't know. I might have some withdrawals.
And you know what? And I know how you feel about that camp because we've had 5 Raider alumni weekends. We're going to miss out on the 6th one right here. And I look forward to it because that's the time I get to hang out with some of my teammates that I play with. And then I get to hang around some of those Raider legends, as I call them, those that were there before me, those I used to watch when I was a kid, them gold medal jacket, the gold jacket guys. You got.
By the way, you should have one of those gold jackets.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you very much. Hey, you know what? It was just nice being. I've been nominated a few times, and that was cool too. But to get a chance to see, like the Art Shells and Jim Otto and Ted Hendricks and Mike Haynes, and just a lot of great players, the ones I used to watch, and I'm going to miss that, so I know what you're saying. There's a clock that goes on. We all have that clock, and you know what? We all know what time of the year it is because our bodies tell us, okay, now it's this season, and we look forward to it. But you know what? We're going to all have to hang in there, and this too shall pass, as they say. We don't know when, but you know what? Just the best thing I could probably say is just stay safe and just do what you're supposed to do.
Stay safe, wash your hands, and watch Playing the Field. You can watch the show 24/7 at playingthefieldtv.com. You guys, thank you so much for being here today. I had a blast, and we got to do it again soon.
Well, I appreciate the reunion. It's a blast. Doug, take care of yourself, buddy.
You too, Jerry Robinson.
All right.